So get this, Ford is trying to tell Donald Trump that his tariffs are destroying the auto industry on a Fox News show hosted by his daughter-in-law.
If there was one thing that you would ask President Trump, maybe Congress, to do right now that would allow you maybe to create even more jobs than Ford already does, what's one thing they could do?
Maybe I'll ask for two.
Okay.
Okay. One would be the parts tariffs, as I said, because we can't make all the parts here. And if the tariffs are high on the parts, including steel and aluminum, that actually hurts our economy.
That's not a business interview. That's Ford saying, please don't kill us with tariffs. But Donald Trump keeps doing it. Ford just said that his tariffs are going to cost them $2 billion this year. Then the CEO of Ford, Jim Farley, goes on Bloomberg and says, we need to work out a solution on this tariff policy. He's trying to be diplomatic. He should be applying for a job at the UN.
The reality is that a 15% tariff for finished vehicles, that is not a high enough tariff. You know, it'd have to be more like 30 to 40% to build a new factory in the U.S. Now, we've seen a lot of our competitors, even our domestic competitors, you know, fill open factories here where they have bridge production. They may make it in Mexico and the U.S., the same nameplate, and they are moving some of that back to the U.S., which is good for our country and good for our manufacturing. The key thing is going to be the accumulation of effect of emissions policy, tax policy, as well as this tariff policy. We have to work out a solution for this tariff policy as the Trump administration works through those bilateral trade agreements. And as I said, the conversations so far have been very productive, and we'll let everyone know when we make material progress.
You saw how much is up in the air, and this poor guy is saying we're waiting on this tariff policy and the tax policy and the emissions policy. None of this had to happen if Trump had not done the tariffs. But this guy is shaking in his boots, and they're losing money, and he's trying to be diplomatic. Got to give him that. And then he goes on CNN and tries to explain how it all works.
Let me take you through the math. You know, a $40,000, $50,000 F-150, you know, 75, 80% of the parts are made in America. But to keep it competitive and affordable compared to companies that import from overseas like Mexico or South Korea or Japan, you know, we have to import certain parts. And a lot of parts like fasteners, washers, carpet, wiring looms are just not available. We can't even buy those parts here. So they decided to say you get one tariff, it's 25%. You know, that clarifies things, but boy, do we have a lot of work to do with the administration on exports, you know, and these parts, affordability of parts is a really important thing for America because we got to keep the vehicles affordable. Yes, we want to make them like Ford does in the U.S., but we also want to make the vehicles affordable that are built in the U.S., and the parts are critical for that.
Let me take you through this. Tariffs on parts and aluminum and steel is going to raise the prices, and who pays those prices? You pay those prices. Easy peasy. That's how you explain it. But people at Fox seem to like the tariffs.
Car companies, I heard some grumbling from some of our friends over at some of the big car companies.
Well, you know, when you're so in love with it, charging the other guy 25% and you only charge him 15%. By the way, before April 2nd, you know we were charging them? 2%. So now it's 15%, and, you know, they're just not as happy as they were when it was 25%.
I love tariffs.
I get it, but I love tariffs.
I love tariffs.
You and me, we'll go out together.
Sorry, I love
and we'll
tariffs.
get tariff, we'll pay for dinner.
I love tariffs.
That was Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick and Laura Ingraham about to make out. I love tariffs. I love tariffs too. We should get together and love tariffs together. These people seem to be deaf to what the auto industry is telling them. The auto industry is saying your tariffs ain't working. They're making things more expensive. And currently, they're trying to hold down their prices, but what's gonna happen is, as the prices rise, they're gonna have to raise their prices, and you and I are gonna pay for those tariffs. Unlike what Donald Trump said, I know you guys are shocked. How is it possible that the financial genius Donald Trump has made a blunder when it comes to his economic policy? How is that even possible that the guy who bankrupted several casinos and a meat business and a university and a charity, how is it possible that a guy who almost led us to destruction under COVID, how is it possible that a guy who tried to overthrow democracy, how is it possible that a guy who got millions of dollars from his father and lost it, and how is it possible that that guy could somehow have messed up with the tariffs? How is that even possible? It's very possible. We've seen it. Many companies are sitting on the sidelines right now going, what are we supposed to do? Are the tariffs coming? Are they going? What's happening? Originally, Trump said 90 deals in 90 days. Now we're starting to see some deals trickle in, and it's, hey, great, you made deals. So he's making some deals with the Europeans. He's making some deals with Korea. He's making some deals with England. He's making a little bit of deal. However, don't forget, those deals are now imposing tariffs on those countries. And you think when those countries send their washing machines and their dryers and their cars over, you think that they're not going to raise those prices to pay those tariffs and then bring it into our companies? And then when you and I go into the showroom to buy that new washing machine, we're going to be like, well, it seems a little more expensive. Seems 15% more, 20% more expensive, because we pay it. The other countries don't pay it. This whole tariff thing is a crazy idea anyway, because the idea was we're going to post so much tariffs that then we're going to bring manufacturing back into the U.S. Now, first of all, the cost of manufacturing in the U.S., some of the things we manufacture overseas, it's just not comparable. Companies are having a hard time wrapping their heads around even trying to do this. Secondly, it's going to take years for companies like Apple to bring manufacturing back into the U.S. And thirdly, if they bring manufacturing back into the U.S., then there's no tariffs anymore because we're making it all here. So then this money that's supposed to come in, that's supposed to offset their big tax break they give themselves, is no longer coming in. So it's really just a ruse. It's another ruse to take advantage of the poor and to make the rich richer. Don't forget when he actually called the tariffs the first Liberation Day, stock market tanked. Guess who bought money when the stock market, guess who bought stocks when the stock market tanked? People with money. People that had millions of dollars available to buy stocks at a discounted price because they knew it was going to go back up, and it did quickly because Taco, Trump always chickens out, happened, and we knew it was going to happen, and then he started, seesawing on the tariffs. And once he seesawed on the tariffs, a lot of rich people made a lot of money. They bought their Apple stock, their Tesla stock, their whatever stock it was at a discount, and it went back up. So this whole tariff thing, again, is one big ruse. This guy, Howard Lutnick, is just, I don't know what his deal is. He's not the smart, he's a financial guy, but he doesn't seem like I don't know where these people come up with this idea that tariffs are good. They just have not been good. They've made it harder and harder for the average person, and they're going to make it harder and harder as prices start to rise more and more. Currently, they're trying to keep the prices low, but we're starting to see. We saw that Amazon was getting ready to indicate how much prices had increased because of tariffs. And then Donald Trump pressured Jeff Bezos not to do that because he didn't want people to realize that tariffs are hurting their bottom dollar. So again, he bullied his way with CEOs to not admit that these tariffs are bad. And a lot of CEOs are sitting around just shaking their heads. They're going, we don't know what are you doing? What are you doing? What is the plan? And I always talk about this, and I want you to go back and look at Rachel Maddow's breakdown of the fact that Peter Navarro, who was one of the tariff hawks in the administration, had written a book called Death by China, which he was talking about tariffs and tariffs being good. And he quoted an economist named Ron Vera, who says tariffs are good. But come to find out, this person, Ron Vera, is not a real person. It's a person that Peter Navarro made up this quote that tariffs are good and said tariffs are good. And actually, Ron Vera is an anagram of his own name. So even when he was trying to lie, he wasn't smart enough to just come up with a fake name. He took his own name, took Navarro, and turned it into Ron Vera, and then put it in his book. And he's one of the guys who has been a big supporter of the tariffs. And Donald Trump's been a supporter of the tariffs because he is able to say, look, these tariffs are going to bring in money, which ultimately, if you and I got to pay more, then sure, the countries are going to have to pay their tax for it to come in, but then they're going to raise the prices, so you and I end up paying for it. But ultimately, his whole point was to be able to say these tariffs are bringing in money, and therefore, you should give us a tax break. Billionaires should get tax breaks because why should we pay taxes? Do you understand that America used to pay much higher percentage of taxes? The rich used to pay a lot higher percentage of taxes around the time of Reagan. And ever since then, it's just kept coming down and down and down. And they just kept coming up with excuses. Hey, how dare you stop me from being the ultimate capitalist and making billions of dollars in your system and not paying taxes into it. That's what they do. They get these corporations and they don't pay taxes. Jeff Bezos, I don't know if he's still doing this, but a while back, his annual salary was about $80,000 he paid himself, paid taxes on that. But the billionaires don't pay taxes because they just hold on to their stock. They don't sell their stock to go buy a $200,000 car. No, they go to a bank. They say, listen, I'm Elon Musk. I'm worth $300 billion. I'd like to buy $1 million car. Give me the loan. They give him the loan because he's got all those assets. And then in order to pay the loan, he goes to another bank, gets money from that, and pays that loan. And so they just move money around. But they never actually have to sell the stock. So their net worth remains high. Elizabeth Warren had a great idea. She said, why don't we tax these billionaires at a certain point? Once you've made 100 million or more, once you're worth 100 million or more, what about every year? If your stocks go up, how about you pay 2% on the stock increase, even if you don't sell the stock? How about that? That seems like a thing that a generous, rich person would say, sure, if it helps improve the roads and the bridges and the schools, yes, I'm in. But they don't, because they're greedy. They try to sell you on this thing called trickle-down economics. Biggest scam in history. Billionaires ain't trickling down no money. It's trickling right into their pockets. And so here we are with this tariff. Yet another one of Donald Trump's big robberies, big grifts. The grifter in chief. Folks, I don't know what to tell you. I just know that tariffs have not been good. They have definitely not helped stabilize the economy. Even that CEO of Ford was saying we need to wait for this and this and this to happen, hoping we have a soft landing. That's what they want. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen like that. I think it's going to be as messy as it is because, again, the guy in charge is the guy who's just bankrupted casinos. Who bankrupts casinos? Not a good business person. Guys, I'm comedian Maz Jobrani. I've got a page right here on YouTube. It's at Maz Jobrani. Give it a follow. I post stand-up comedy. If you enjoy it, leave a comment. Let me know that you came from Rebel HQ. Bye-bye.